So I think we have more or less everybody. So welcome. This is the Arts Orientation for Philosophy. And so we're here to talk to you about what you can learn if you do a philosophy degree or take philosophy courses, and also answer your question. So my name is Marie-Eve Morin. I'm the chair of the philosophy department. I also teach in the department when I'm not busy running things. I teach political philosophy, and I've also taught in the past existentialism. I've taught feminist philosophy, and I teach seminars also, so upper level courses in a field called phenomenology. So let me introduce the other people on the panel. So we have Grace. I'll let you introduce yourself. I won't do it for you. Can you unmute? You need to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the U of A. My name is Grace Jameson, and I'm the undergraduate student advisor for 3 departments. I'm actually the advisor for philosophy, linguistics, and gender and women's studies. I started here in the Faculty of Arts in October and have been a student advisor on campus for both grad and undergrads and other faculties for many years. I have a variety of duties here, which range from scheduling courses and bear tracks, helping academics with U of A policies, procedures, and most importantly, providing students with support from the start of your program to the end with convocation. I can help you with things like program requirements, course registration, advice on changing your major and minor, steps needed to make this happen. If you're afraid to approach your professors, which some are, it's okay to come to me, and feel free to talk to me about things, because I will guide you and support you and gear you in the right direction. So basically, I too play a critical role, as all the others here at the U of A, in the drive to support you through your academic success and overall experiences as a student in the Department of Philosophy and at the U of A.
Thank you, Grace. So yeah, Grace is a great resource in the department, and she'll also be moderating the Q&A for us today. So if you have questions, you can go into the Q&A and type in your question, and Grace will make sure that we all answer your question. So our second panelist is Cam.
Hello, I'm Cam. I'm a 4th-year undergraduate student in the department. Weirdly, I've only been in the department for a couple of years. I transferred in kind of late into my degree. But yeah, I'm also representing the Undergraduate Philosophy Association here today. If you want to know more about that, that's kind of like a student group that does some meetings and stuff. You can just send those questions and address them towards me or anyone else. Yeah.
Thank you. And our last panelist is Peter.
Hello, everyone. I'm a PhD candidate in the Department of Philosophy, so I'm a graduate student, but I'm also teaching courses. So I teach Philosophy 250, Contemporary Ethical Issues, and Philosophy 386, Healthcare Ethics, and I'm also taught 101, Values and Society. And my general area is in ethics, in moral and political philosophy.
Thank you. So before we start taking your questions, so feel free to start writing your question in the Q&A panel. I'll talk to you a little bit about the programs that we offer, and then I'll ask Cam and Peter like general questions to get us started. So we offer in philosophy a series of programs. We offer a major in philosophy, which is sort of our core degree, which you can always combine with another major. So we have a lot of students who do combine philosophy with fields like political science, it's very popular, also English, history, but also something you might not know as well, which is science, technology, and society studies. The major is structured like most of the major, where you take between 30 and 48 credits in philosophy. And one thing that you need to know about our degree is that it's extremely flexible. So we have requirements, but we never have like a specific course you have to take. We always have areas you need to cover. So it gives you a lot of choices in the courses that you want to take. Another thing that's specific maybe to our degree or our courses is that a lot of our senior courses, in fact, all of our senior courses, I think but one, don't have any prerequisite. So you can start with a 200 or 300 level course that interests you and enter the field in this way. We also offer an honors degree, so Cam is an honors student, which is similar to the major, except that at the end of your degree, you get to write a honors thesis or research paper in collaboration with a faculty member. So it's a chance to explore a topic that interests you and also to work closely with a faculty member. We have a minor, which is a degree where you take between 4 and 10 courses in philosophy. And so it's a good complement to any other degrees that you might take if you're interested in adding philosophy to your toolkit. And we offer also a degree that's kind of new, which is a certificate in ethics. And so if your interest in philosophy is focused, and Peter will tell you a little bit more about why ethics is important, but if your interest in ethics is really geared toward ethics, then you can concentrate your courses in that area, and on your degree you will get a certificate in ethics. So let's start with, let me start by asking a couple of questions before we answer your questions. So I'll start with Cam. So because he's a student, so he can tell you what it's like to be a student in philosophy. So what's the first philosophy course that you took, or first couple of philosophy courses that you took, and why? What was especially interesting, or what grabbed your attention in them that made you decide that that was a good degree for you?
Right. So just a little bit of context. I came to U of A as a mathematics major, so I was in the math department. So I actually took Phil 120, which is symbolic logic. I mostly took that because I was looking at art selectives, and I thought, oh, well, this is similar to what I'm studying. It might be useful. And actually, that's kind of a nice thing about a lot of Phil courses. They complement even things in the sciences or other arts and humanities. They pair off quite well. But yeah, I started taking that course. It was a night course, which I always recommend. It's really nice. It fits in every schedule. You just have to sit somewhere for 3 hours, which is a little bit. Yeah, but I found it really interesting in that, it's a pretty novel thing. You don't learn anything similar to it in high school. It's teaching you a way to kind of represent and understand arguments and kind of what's going on behind the scenes and how they work and sort of what makes them good arguments or maybe faulty arguments, which is really useful for any kind of degree, especially a philosophy degree, which is mostly about arguments. And the other nice thing about it is that I think it was a really well taught class. I can't actually remember the professor off the top of my head, but it was a pretty kind of mixed group of students in there. People from the sciences, people from the humanities, and we had a lot of discussion, and it was a really good time.
Yeah, thanks. So well, you already talked about arguments, but what is it that you're learning in your degree, now that you've been in philosophy for a couple of years, that you find particularly useful or interesting, and that you think will help you in your future plans? And you can also share with us your future plans if you.
So I think there's kind of two parts to that. One is, I guess, the more academic or career-based. So I really enjoy philosophy. I kind of got into it in my second year, which is why I'm studying it now. So I'd like to do a master's degree and maybe pursue academic work in philosophy. And failing that, maybe just something in more of an academic field. So in that sense, I think a lot of the courses I've taken really lend themselves really well towards that and bringing up your kind of writing ability and your comprehension ability, which is useful for any kind of written-based type career. But even outside of kind of direct career applications, especially ethics courses, I've found have been really helpful in, I guess, teaching me how to think about things I don't really want to think about. Like, for example, what's going on in the world right now, not to bring up the thing that's on fire. It's a pretty uncomfortable thing to think about, like your own personal responsibility or your place in the world. What do you owe other people? This gets into probably what Peter's going to talk about with ethics. But I think taking philosophy courses, it forces you to actually like engage with things that you try probably to avoid to think about in your day-to-day life. And it's a skill, like it's a muscle you have to learn and it's a tolerance you have to build up. But once you have it, it makes it a lot easier to kind of think about your place in the world, which I don't know if that's something that would get you a job directly, but it's probably going to help when you have the job.
Yes, thank you. So that's a good segue into Peter's field. So Peter, what would you say to convince our students or the attendees here to take courses in ethics? What is it that they get out of it? Why is it important?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And I think there's really just so much that you get out of, say, an ethics course. not to disrespect other areas of philosophy, but I think ethics is especially interesting and engaging and enriching because it is so applied, as Cam was suggesting. So although it can be really interesting to debate whether or not, I'm sitting at a table right now, whether my hands are really in front of me, and that's a really fun part of philosophy. In ethics, we ask questions like, well, the cheeseburger that I had for lunch, was that ethical to support factory farmed meat? Or we ask questions like, can I go to a movie theater and spend, well, now no one can, but could I go out to dinner, let's say, and spend $100 on a fancy dinner when there are people starving somewhere in the world who could have used that money if it was given to them via a reliable aid agency? So as Cam was saying, we confront all these really big and uncomfortable questions, and that's on the more applied side. But you also get to confront questions that, as Cam was saying, you don't confront anywhere else in high school or in other areas of the university, other disciplines, like, are there objective ethical values? Are there values that have some kind of reality out there that I should be following? Or do I get to choose my own values and structure my life as I see it ought to be? That's a huge question and a dilemma for all of us as we're coming up. Should I listen to authorities, what my parents, what my teachers say my values should be? Should I try to develop and construct my own values? So we also dig deep into those big philosophical questions too. And if you've ever found yourself on the losing side of a debate, then you might want to hone up on your debating skills, and ethics is an excellent way to do that. We spend a lot of the course and we try to make it a very welcoming and inclusive environment in doing so. So it's not confrontational, but we spend a lot of the course in group debate and group discussion, trying to hammer out our ideas, figure out what we believe. And so a nice bonus is that you can come out of the course much better able to show your friends why they're wrong. And so loads of benefits there. Really great course, and we have a really fun time doing it for a semester.
Yeah, thanks. So what do you do in a typical, I know that, the courses maybe this semester are not going to be typical, but what do you do in a typical philosophy course when you teach? What do you students, what do you ask of your students?
Right, yeah. So one thing that is often emphasized, especially in ethics courses, is group discussion and group debate. So obviously we have to get the material under our belts, which comes through reading texts, right, and attending lectures and all that kind of normal stuff. But the really fun thing is, once we have a bunch of theories on the table, we actually get to debate those in class, and you don't necessarily have to support the view that you really believe with all your heart, right? You can figure it out over the course of the semester. You can play devil's advocate. You can try different views out. And that's really a way where you learn to pick up a view, pick up an argument or a theory, embody it, defend it, see its flaws, see its strengths, and then fundamentally figure out, hey, do I believe this? Do I think it succumbs to objections? And then ultimately, we take what we've learned through engaging in class discussion and bringing up all these different ideas, and we really focus that and drill down in detail in defending a theory in writing. And really how we do it in ethics is, I think it's a really good structure for defending a view. You present an argument in favor of a view. This is how the paper goes. You take a side, you take a position, you present an argument in favor of a view. You consider an objection from the opposing side, something a lot of people just aren't trained to do or don't want to do, right? But if you consider an objection from the opposing side and you really powerfully answer that objection, your argument comes out that much the stronger. So some really great rhetorical skills are developed in addition to figuring out what you fundamentally believe about the big questions in life.
Thank you. So let's move on. We have a couple of questions on the Q&A. So Grace, do you want to?
Yep. Okay, we've got a few questions here. The first question, and Maria, I think you covered this a bit. Is it a bad idea if, as a first-year student, I take a 200-level philosophy course without experience in a 100-level class? The 200 levels that I'm interested in do not have prerequisite, but how do you feel about taking 200 levels without experiencing the 100s? Is this a bad idea?
Yeah, I can tell you what I think, but maybe Peter also, because he teaches 200 courses. And so in first year courses, it's a chance to try out philosophy and see if you like it. And we will of course teach you paper writing, but because our 200 and 300 level courses do not have prerequisite, and a lot of students take these courses, for example, healthcare ethics, or from even outside of arts, all of our instructors go into these courses knowing that people don't necessarily have the experience of a first year course, and hence also need to be taught paper writing skill and all of these things. So we never assume that all of our students have taken the first year course. So I will say that it's really, in general, not a problem, but since Peter has more experience teaching these courses, maybe he wants to tell me that my hunch is right.
Right, yeah, I would certainly agree. Especially with something like healthcare ethics, a lot of people come in even with a healthcare background and they can pick it up pretty quickly. As Maria was saying, we always do these paper writing workshops. So if you do come into a higher level course without any experience in philosophy, we do help you get up to speed with paper writing workshops. I mean, obviously, if you do 101 first, and I have a lot of students who do 101 values in society first and then come into 250. I mean, I think they're more aware of the issues, and it's certainly great to have that background, but it's not strictly necessary, and we don't assume it, of course.
Okay, great. Got another question here. Hi, I'm starting my philosophy major this fall. Welcome. I'm taking Phil 101 and 102 in the fall. I wonder how I can choose later courses. I'm interested in politics, but there are too many options. Maybe,
well, I'll answer this because in the winter, there's a great political philosophy course that I'm teaching. So that's an obvious choice. But I mean, I would say there's a couple of things that you can do. And of course, it's a little bit more difficult now because you can't just walk in the department and meet with the different instructors and talk to them about what they're going to do in their courses. But we have on our webpage, we have a courses page. And if you look, we have a list of the courses that are offered this year. And there are descriptions there of the content of these courses that go beyond what you will find in the calendar, which sometimes is just one line and doesn't give you much information. Then I would also recommend that if you're unsure, if you want to know more about what's going to be taught in a course, that you just email the instructor and ask for more information. But it's actually great to hear that there's too many options and not too few. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I figured we'd get this. What is the difference between a major in philosophy and an honors in philosophy? Maria, I think.
Well, yeah, maybe Cam wants to answer since he's an honors student, so.
Perfect.
So there's a few differences. The big ones on paper are that you need to take a few more philosophy courses, right? The minimum and the maximum number get raised. So basically, if you want to take lots of philosophy courses, that's definitely the way to go. You need to take one extra 400 level course, which are the kind of seminar courses. They tend to be really fun, so I'd recommend going for that. And then you do an honors thesis, which is like Professor Moran was saying, is basically like a very long paper you get supervised writing, kind of your own topic, or your own project. Yeah, those are primarily the differences. I don't think I missed anything.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And so the course that's called honors thesis is a research paper you get to write. And so the biggest difference is that, yeah, it's more philosophy. So if you're doing a major and you run out of courses, it's because you want to be an honors student, so you want to do more. You can also combine the honors degree, like you can combine a major with other field. So we do a lot of combined, and then you can write a combined project, for example, with political science and philosophy or English and philosophy. But yeah, it's a chance to work more closely. You get an opportunity to work more closely with the faculty members. So especially if you're thinking of graduate work, even if it's not in philosophy, it's in another field like policy studies or bioethics, or because you've worked more closely with a faculty member, that faculty member will be able to provide you a letter that will speak to your ability to work independently, to do independent research, to organize your own time and your own ideas, etc. So it can be interesting as an experience, but also give you a leg up for whatever you're planning to do after your degree. Oh, we have lots of questions.
Yeah, we do. Okay, here's one. Oh, did I miss one? Are there work experience opportunities for philosophy students at the U of A?
So we've had a couple of students who have done the arts work experience. So this is not something that the philosophy department itself does. So this is something that you register for with arts work experience. But we've had some students find opportunities. Now, of course, you will never see a posting that says we're looking for philosophy students. But we've had philosophy students who have been extremely successful. So we had, for example, one student who was working for the federal government, and I cannot remember exactly in what part of the federal government, but she was a third-year honors student, and the government wanted to keep her, and they wanted her to stop her degree so they could hire her. And she, because she was doing these one-term internship, one term coming back, studying full-time. And she's now graduated and is working for the government. So there are definitely opportunities, but there will never be opportunities for philosophers, but you will always have the right skill set, knowing how to communicate clearly, to read clearly, to write clearly, to argue, to tease out arguments, to be a good fit for a lot of these jobs. So I would suggest going to the arts work experience workshop and talking to them. Okay.
Let's expand on that a bit. So what kind of careers are available to graduates of philosophy?
Lots of different things. No, we do have, so I would say the most common path, well, there's a couple of common paths, but the most common one is probably students going into law. And so doing a JD after their philosophy degree. We also have, there's a question there about medicine. We also have students who have done philosophy who then go into medicine or related healthcare fields and work as ethicists in this field. A philosophy degree is a degree that opens a lot of doors, but doesn't have a clear, so the path is not clear. So you have a lot of opportunities, a lot of options. But one thing is that you'll need to learn to speak to the skills that you've acquired. And this is why also arts work experience is a good experience to try out during your degree, because you will learn that even that all of the things that you're learning in your classes actually are really applicable and useful in a lot of different fields. So government, a lot of people become journalists, work for presses, but these are all the kind of careers that when you're in high school and people ask you, well, what do you want? What career are you thinking about? You might not have on your mind. And so we used to organize career events where we would have people who have graduated from philosophy and have that unusual path come and talk to students about, what they did. We have a graduate who started a business and, found her skills in philosophy really useful for that. So there's a lot of, it's a degree that opens doors. And so you can do maybe not whatever you want, but pretty much anything after. And it's a good foundational degree also to go into a different field.
Good. Julian, I'm going to skip past yours because I think Maria have answered that for you. This is a really good question. In philosophy classes, it sounds like there's a lot of arguing of your beliefs and perspectives. Do I need to ever be concerned about the possibility of being judged for my beliefs, or value systems during this process, or even being told that my beliefs are wrong? Good question.
This is a really good question. Maybe I'll let Cam or Peter answer that since, well, maybe, yeah, Cam also has something to say. Also because you do the philosophy club, so.
You can go first, Cam.
So kind of my gut reaction is that you'll probably be confronted on some things you believe. I've never seen someone be completely shut down or anyone get really out of hand and be quite rude. That doesn't seem to happen very often. Especially as Peter was saying earlier, a lot of the classes have a pretty kind of civil atmosphere. Everyone's fairly polite and they're fairly understanding. And at the end of the day, it's like, you know, dissenting views are nice to have in classes. I think people really appreciate it, especially like an ethics course where there's, you know, the encouragement to have a little bit of kind of well-spirited debate. If everyone in the class believes the same thing, they tend to become very, very quiet very quickly, which isn't always, you know, that fun. But no, in my experience, I haven't seen anyone be kind of treated unpleasantly because of their beliefs. And just kind of tack onto that, I also work with the Undergraduate Philosophy Association, which is sort of like a discussion group, social group type thing. I can go more into it if people are curious. And we also try to keep things pretty similar to in class, very civil, a little bit less formal. People can kind of, you know, joke and kind of have a little bit of fun. But the idea is to allow people to kind of to speak their mind, and as long as they're being polite. But yeah.
Good. Peter, do you want to add anything?
Oh yeah, sure. I think Cam's exactly right. In classes, certainly we do always try to ensure a really respectful atmosphere, and the point is constructive disagreement. So as Cam was suggesting, it's not all that interesting if everyone agrees on a particular issue. What's interesting is to constructively and respectfully disagree. And there's also a lot of room for people to just try out different perspectives and share their perspectives. And it's made clear in all the classes going in that it's really important to be respectful of other people's views and to learn from their views and learn from the disagreement. Certainly not to disrespect people for their views.
Yeah, thanks. So since Cam mentioned the Undergraduate Philosophy Association, and there's a question near the end about that. So do you have, and I'm also curious to know, do you have any plans this year to hold events, or what are you doing with your social?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, the big part of it is that the university has guidelines on what clubs and student groups can do, so we're going to try to follow those as best we can. The going advice right now seems to be, there's not really anywhere to meet on campus. Those spaces aren't available at the moment, which I think is quite fair. And I think it's probably going to be an evolving thing. I haven't talked to the other kind of executive members in the UPA recently about it. Though a part of that is we need to elect new people. So depending on who is in leadership positions, that might change. My hope and definitely my plan is that we'll do online meetings, probably quite similar to kind of Zoom seminar style discussions. I don't think we'll be doing in-person events, at least in the fall. We might come back to that idea in the winter if things are a little bit less complicated at the time. But yeah, and we'll probably have a more developed plan come September. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, good. One question here is, if we have any questions about some of these classes, will the professors be annoyed, or will it cause them stress if we email them all our questions before or during the course?
Maybe I should also, well, I'll say something both as an instructor and as chair of the department. I really hope that and really think that all of the instructors in the department are always happy to hear from students and answer questions, especially even before the start of the course. I've already received questions from some of my students about what they should read this week before the courses start, or what kind of assignments we were going to do, or Now, of course, you don't want to overwhelm a professor with 20 emails in one day. Like, we have a lot of students and we're busy, but you should never, never feel uncomfortable emailing an instructor if you have a question before the beginning of the course or during a course. So Peter, how do you handle students emailing you?
Oh yes, well I would exactly agree. It's usually really interesting and fun to answer student questions, and it's great to see that they're engaged and interested in the course content and also just curious about how the course will go. So I would always say it's great to receive questions, and you should never hesitate to ask a question. Of course, as Mary-Eve said, not 20 emails, but because time is limited, but it's always great to receive questions from students, and it's something I really encourage.
I'll just add to that. On our website, we have course syllabuses that you could look at. I don't know if that would help you, like previous years. The ones for fall may not be up yet, but have a look at previous years. It's a helpful tool, obviously. So yeah, definitely do that.
So we have just a quick question about whether we need to be a philosophy student to join the philosophy club, and the answer is no. You can find information about this called the Undergraduate Philosophy Association on our webpage under our Undergraduate, and you can just email the people, and there will be more information coming about how that will work this year.
Okay, there's a question here about assignments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will philosophy assignments be mainly based on written work or discussions?
Yeah, and there's also
the remote
classes, what we should expect and what exams will look like. So this is because I have a bigger overview of all the different courses, this really depends on every courses, but in general, it's both written work and discussion because these are two different skills. Being able to engage in discussion with your peers, but then is not the same as being able to write a very well argued type paper. And so we do a lot of writing, we also do a lot of discussing, and normally the grade is a mix of both. About exams, we've had a bit of experience with this in the winter. In philosophy, one of the nice things is that a lot of our exams can be take home. And so most of the exams you will be take home, where you will have a series of questions, you will pick one or a couple, and you will have a couple of days to answer them. There's even in fields in courses like logic, symbolic logic, which is a little bit more like a math course, so these kind of things, the exams are take-home exams. So no proctored timed exam like you would do in the sciences. And about remote classes, what changes we can expect? Well, aside from the fact that we're going to be seeing ourselves in little squares on the screen, I think that a lot of the instructors are trying to keep the same structure with lectures. A lot of the lectures will, where the instructor explains the material or walks you through an argument, will try to do pre-recordings, or what we call now asynchronous. We've all learned all these new words this year. But we will use a platform like Zoom to keep the debating part of the seminars. And of course, we'll also look for your feedback in the first couple of weeks about how these things are going, because we're all trying a new thing. But Peter taught a course online in the spring, so he can tell you how that worked.
Yeah, so certainly for its Philosophy 250, Contemporary Ethical Issues, I think we were actually able to preserve a lot of the same components and format when we migrated online. So what I did is I did lecture synchronously, that is live, but I recorded the sessions so students could always go back to those later. And what we did in terms of discussion is we used Zoom's breakout room feature, which actually worked pretty well. So if you haven't gotten a chance to use that yet, it's basically a group discussion that you can do on Zoom. So you're broken up into different groups. You can choose, instructors can choose the number, but usually around 6 to 7 people is what I did. And then you end up with your own kind of private Zoom room that you can discuss these issues with your peers, and the instructor can drop in and out of that in different rooms, and then you can come back to the main room. So fortunately, a lot of the same functionality is preserved even with the transition online.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I apologize, I missed a question here. Another good question. If I minor in philosophy, will that be of any use for me? For example, if after I get my degree, I realized I didn't like the jobs in the field of my major, would I be able to base a career off of a philosophy minor?
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
the thing that's interesting about the philosophy minor is that to get the minor, you can take anywhere between 4 senior courses to 14. So there's quite a wide range of background you can actually have with a philosophy minor, but it's definitely a good addition because as you say, or as you ask, if the specific career path that you had in mind turns out not to be such a good fit for you, then you will have a lot of transferable skills to try out other things. Now, of course, it's not, and you know, the philosophy minor part will appear in your degree, so you will be able to say that you have done some of this work with like critical thinking and deep reading and clear argumentative writing and all of this. So I think it's a really good complement and backup if, yeah, it turns out that the plan you have in mind today does not turn out exactly like you thought.
Okay, I'm not really sure if we can answer this one now, but what are the general GPA averages in philosophy classes compared to other subjects such as English, economics, science? I'm not sure we can.
Yeah, it's very, I mean, there's no specific curve and there's no specific grade distribution that arts is implementing or that we are implementing. So there's always variation in specific courses, but I would say that the distribution is overall similar to feels like English, or of course the sciences is hard to know because we don't really get information about grade distribution for engineering or the sciences because it's a different faculty. But you know, the average in first year courses is around B, second and third year around B and B plus, and fourth year seminars more like B plus. So, but that's, of course, that's an average over all of the students that we have. So there's quite a big range.
Okay, another question here. Oh, it's a good question. So all lectures are going to be asynchronous, question mark? How can we approach the profs if we have any further questions about this?
Yes, so we're still figuring it out. I would say that a lot of the lectures are going to be asynchronous, but there's always going to be a synchronous component that's going to be more, sorry, a Q&A or a you know, a debate, or so it's not all going to be ever asynchronous. If you want to know for a particular course what the structure is going to be, so is it, you know, synchronous on Tuesday and it's, you know, I would say just email the prof, because at this point, since we start next week, instructors have a better, well, they have pretty much a plan and have decided on the structure of their course. So I would say just quickly email the professor and say, hey, I'm wondering about the structure, can you let me know?
Okay, I'm not sure we really touched on this, but with remote classes, what changes can we expect in things like seminars and debates?
Yeah, I think
You did touch that, okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be the same, but on a little square.
Right, okay.
But we'll try to make it the same. Yeah.
Oh, okay, another good question. When should I decide if I'm doing a philosophy major or honors?
So this is something that I think Cam might have mentioned or not, but there's a residency requirement for the honors degree. So you have to be registered in the honors degree and take a certain amount of courses while in this program. So you can't switch last minute and just do your thesis. Okay? And so we really recommend that you switch second year, at the latest in third year. But you should, and it's a change of program. So it's something that you would do in, I think now the deadline is March 1st. Last year it was pushed to a different date. So this is always a question. If you're unsure, and this is always a question you can ask Grace, but my advice is do not wait too long, because there's what we call a residency requirement. And so you have to take a certain number of courses after you transfer.
All right. How do I register for a philosophy class on Bear Tracks? Is there a particular name for it?
Yeah, so
They're
on
just
Bear
listed,
Track, yeah.
They're just listed under Phil, PHIL classes. So when you select, you'll see philosophy, and then you'll see all the course titles.
Yeah. So
and make sure you check off that little box. There's a box on there that says open classes only, because if you're looking up courses and you can't see very many, it's because you've more than likely they're full. So you need to check off that little box, and it will list all courses, whether they're full or not. I don't know if we have any more questions.
yeah, so we're almost at the hour. I also, thank you all for your great questions. If you have any more questions, feel free to email me or email Grace or any instructor. I also will write her name. So our undergraduate program director she couldn't be here today. She's at the lake. Is Jennifer Welshman, and so she's responsible for the undergraduate program, so she can also answer questions that you have about courses, or which course to take, or how many courses, or what path. So on our webpage, again, you can find all the information about the courses, the course descriptions. You can also find information about the Undergraduate Philosophy Association. I also want to let you know that we will have our usual undergraduate philosophy fall tea, where normally we have tea and cookies, and it's a chance to meet professors and instructors in the department. We also talk about different initiatives, the UPA, the Undergraduate Philosophy Association. We also have a minority in philosophy chapter at the U of A that does reading courses, reading groups. And so we have a lot of prizes that we give away to students. We have an essay prize and a couple of scholarships that we award during the tea. So we will hold this tea on Zoom again, and it's Thursday, September 10th. If you're a major or minor, you will receive an invitation. It will also be advertised in philosophy courses, so you'll get a chance to hear again about it. And there will be a chance to, again, talk to and hear from different people who are involved in the department. And maybe we'll try to do a little bit of a meet and greet with breakout rooms, so that you also get to meet maybe other students and other people. And we try to make this a little bit of a social event where you can meet other students that are maybe also in your courses. So do we have any other questions? Grace, have we answered?
Yeah, actually you touched on that last question, which was about, yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. And we hope to see you virtually, and maybe at some point when we're back in the office, drop by Assiniboia Hall and come and say hi one of these days. Thank you very much.